Hello everyone, my name is Muhammad Ali, CEO of Core Gems, and I have a very interesting video for you guys here today. So we have two lines of stones, and on the left hand side we have some stones that are much more common, much more well known. On the right hand side we have some stones that are much less common, uh, much more obscure, much less represented in the jewelry and gemological industry. So I'm going to show you guys each stone on a variety of backgrounds and talk about each stone uh, as in terms of value, in terms of rarity, in terms of typical treatments, and in terms of which is the best choice for you personally. Of course, I recommend all of them, but that's just me. So we're going to go ahead and get started right away. So the first stone we're looking at here, so on the left-hand side, we have sapphire, emerald, ruby. Now, the reason I chose this emerald rather than, a much greener, something closer to this color emerald was because I wanted all untreated stones. Just to make it simple. So we'll go ahead and start just so you can see what an untreated emerald looks like. And then in a later video, I'll probably show you guys a bit more in depth about the treatments of each stone. So right here we have an untreated sapphire. It is of Madagascar origin, about 4 carats. Very beautiful stone. It is greenish blue, which lowers the value. Of course, the highest value would be a perfect royal blue, which is a very, very intense, slightly dark blue, very beautiful. This would be a slightly windowed native cut stone. It's still a good sapphire, by all accounts. It's good luster, good brilliance, great size, good color, not too dark, not too light. But in terms of cutting, could be improved. I would get rid of some of the inclusions. I'm considering recutting this stone. But then again, a lot of our buyers just recut it themselves to their specifications. So I don't know if it'd be the best choice. So you can see the sapphire on a white background. Show you guys against this yellowish brown background. Bit of a different look there. Show you guys against this bright silvery background. Metallic background. Black background. Black usually looks super lovely against quite a few colors. And then let's go with a dark brown to finish off. We'll finish off against skin tone. That brings out a really nice color in that stone, I think. I really like it against the wood grain there. And then again, we'll finish off against skin tone, which actually looks quite beautiful. Actually very nice. So this stone is a Madagascar origin. So sapphire is almost always heated. Almost always. Heating the sapphire will destroy, depending on the rarity, the type, the variety, origin, other factors. It'll reduce the value of the stone by anywhere from about 30 to 60, 70% compared to an untreated stone. So you're looking at about double to triple the price of a similar quality stone that is untreated versus heated. Heat only is accepted, and unheated is accepted. More so now, we're starting to accept some residues, minor residues, and then if you go into the lower end jewelry, you'll start to see more of the beryllium treatments, heating with moderate residues. And then if you go to the very, very bottom, you'll see lead glass filled. So heating with some residues will kill about anywhere from 60 to 90% of the value, compared to it won't kill the value because you generally won't be doing it to a top quality stone. When I'm comparing values, I'm comparing same quality treated stone to a same quality untreated stone. So again, heating with some chemicals, anywhere from 60 to 90% depending on the specific treatment. And you're looking at literally 99% or 99.99%, like pennies on the dollar for a lead glass filled stone compared to an untreated stone. That's because a lead glass filled stone, up to 20% of the weight of the stone can be glass. You are paying for a composite material. It is not a sapphire anymore. In fact, ruby cannot be listed as ruby. It's not corundum anymore. It's a composite material. It's a mixture of corundum and glass. So I don't consider it a gemstone. Most gem collectors don't consider it a gemstone. It's really stuff that they set in silver jewelry and cheaper stuff. So value-wise, the top most expensive sapphire would be a royal blue, cashmere origin, super clean, very large. You'd be looking at close to $500,000 a carat for a 30 or 40 carat flawless royal blue cashmere sapphire. Lower end, still untreated, something along the lines of this would be about 300 to 500 a carat, 600 a carat, depending on whether it's wholesale, retail, what setting you're buying the stone in. And then if you're looking at treated stones, you can literally get lead glass filled for as little as $1 a carat. If you're looking at heated with some residues with some chemicals, anywhere from 50 to a couple hundred a carat, depending on the quality. Sapphire is a great option. It's not overly expensive. You can get larger. It doesn't go up a ton per carat as you go up in size. That's a huge advantage of the stone because larger sapphires do exist. They're not extremely uncommon like large rubies. So you can get a 3 or 4 carat stone, 5 carat stone with good color and good clarity without breaking the bank. Good recommendation I always have for buyers is buy a large native cut stone such as this one and have it recut to be clean and beautiful and exactly how you want it. That's always a great option. You can save a lot of money and get a lot more bang for your buck that way. Next up, we'll take a look at this emerald. Now, emerald is one of the most expensive gems on the planet. At the top end, you're looking at several six figures per carat. $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 per carat. We're talking Sotheby's level, Christie's level stones. We're talking untreated, 30, 40 carat, perfect color, with some provenance, some royal history or something along those lines. Obviously, that's not the case with this stone. It is a light green stone. It is untreated, but definitely has some large inclusions and fissures that would have been improved by oiling, which is the most common treatment. Oiling is graded from F1 to F3. It's much simpler than sapphire where you have chemicals and lead glass filling and it's a huge variety of treatments. And there are also other treatments for emerald as well. Emeralds are sometimes dyed. There are other sort of fillers. Those kill the value just as much as lead glass filling would kill the value for sapphire. But oiling, coming back to the standard industry accepted treatments, oiling goes from F1, minor, it goes from insignificant, which is very, very little, bare trace amounts. And in terms of oil, we'd be looking at a colorless oil, usually cedar oil. It doesn't affect the stability of the emerald too much. You definitely have to be careful in terms of heat and in terms of shock to the stone. You have to be much more delicate with an emerald than you would be with a diamond. But in terms of stability and such, it's a fairly permanent treatment. With over time, it's possible you may need to get your emerald re-oiled. So insignificant, F1, which is minor, F2, which is moderate, and then F3, which is significant. There's a great deal of enhancement by oiling, and it refers to the amount of fissures that have been filled and the amount of treatment the stone's undergone. F1 will kill about, compared to an untreated emerald of the same quality, anywhere from about 30 to 50%, upwards of 60 to 70 if it's a very large, rare stone, very beautiful. So I'll show you guys under different backgrounds here. And this brings out a lot more of the blue against this dark brown here. Then when it comes to F2, you'd be looking at anywhere from 50 to 70% of the stone's value compared to an untreated stone. Then we come up to F3, and you're looking at about 70 to 90% compared to an untreated emerald of the same quality. So it does have quite a significant impact, especially when you come up to significant treatments like very, very heavily treated. And sometimes just by looking at the stone, you can tell it's a very, very included stone and they just pumped it full of oil. And at that point, it's comparable to lead glass filling a sapphire or ruby. It significantly diminishes the value of the stone. It's not common to buy emerald untreated. Typically, oiled is fairly accepted. In fact, untreated is very rare. It's very uncommon, and especially in large sizes, good color, good clarity. So it's fairly accepted and it's fairly standard in the jewelry industry, just as standard heat is for ruby and sapphire. Now we'll come on to one of my favorite gems of all time, ruby. Top 3 for sure. Beautiful example here, untreated, pigeon's blood red ruby. Sorry, I might have forgot to mention the sapphire is Madagascar origin and the emerald is Colombian origin. Moving on to the ruby, Mogok, Burma, best origin on Earth, most coveted origin on Earth, most sought after origin on Earth, and color-wise, vivid pigeon's blood red, most sought after color on Earth. That's confirmed by the GRS report on the stone. This ruby actually has excellent transparency, which is very, very uncommon for ruby. Reason being, sorry, let me get back to the emerald for a second. I didn't go over price points. Low quality emerald, heavy inclusions, light color, or like very, 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 very dark color. More common is the very light color or very strongly bluish. You'd be looking at anywhere from as little as 10 to 50 to $100 a carat. Something that's untreated and or oiled and just low quality. Medium quality would be looking at 300 to 400, 500 a carat. This would be your standard gem quality F1, F2 treatment. And then top grade, again, you get into several hundred thousand per carat. Ruby, most expensive of all. In terms of treatments, you're looking at exactly the same as sapphire. Lead glass filled, beryllium, so on. And the effects on value are also similar. When it comes to lead glass filled, you're looking at dollars a carat, $10 a carat. And when it comes to unheated, for a 20 carat, 15 carat, 30 carat pigeon's blood red Burmese stone, you will be looking at $1 million a carat, which is the world record that was set for the Sunrise ruby. And it has to be a perfect ruby, but you can get up to right around $1 million a carat for ruby, which is the highest price ever paid for any gemstone other than fancy colored diamond. So ruby, excellent stone, but very expensive and very rare. Tourmaline is a great alternative. You can get it in greens and blues. This is a very nice, slightly bluish green stone. If you want something a bit more on the blue side, you can go for indicolite tourmaline. And if you want something that's a nice mix of both, you can go for this like greenish blue lagoon material, lagoon green material that comes out of Afghanistan. Very lovely. Beautiful Brazil stone here, loop clean. You cannot get loop clean emerald. You just can't. The neon glow is what I love about tourmaline. It just has a scintillation and brilliance that is unmatched. Value, treatments. Tourmaline is generally not treated. Dark blue stones and indicolite is often heated, but it doesn't really affect the value because honestly, it's hard to even test for that. It's not really been standardized. What's becoming common is Fisher enhancement, so similar treatment to emerald with a colorless filler in paraiba type tourmaline, which will kill about 50 to 60% of the value compared to an untreated paraiba. But tourmaline is always a great gem for a dark green stone. You're looking at anywhere as little as $5 to $10 a carat. We're talking like near black, dark. Sorry, I didn't show the ruby on other backgrounds. For a lovely neon green blue top of the line tourmaline, you'd be looking at upwards of $2,000 to $3,000 a carat. If it's paraiba type, you can start to get into tens and maybe six figures, about maybe $100,000 for like a perfect 70 carat, 80 carat, loop clean, vivid swimming pool blue paraiba of Brazil origin. Origin has a huge impact on paraiba tourmaline value. With the from lowest to greatest, you're looking at Nigeria, Mozambique, Brazil, and the difference between Nigeria and Mozambique, not huge, maybe 5%. Difference between Mozambique and Brazil, hundreds of percents. You're looking at several times higher value for Brazil origin paraiba. I'm just going to quickly show you the ruby on different backgrounds. before moving on to the last few gemstones, just coming back to ruby, it is such a lovely stone. It is beautifully red, but it is almost always included. It is very expensive, and it is so hard to find. It is almost, you know, if you're looking at decent quality, it'll almost always be at least heat treated if you want an okay price. And if you're willing to fork out several thousands per carat, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 budget, I wouldn't go with anything else. In terms of holding its value, in terms of maybe even going up in value, in terms of rarity and collectability and sought after, there's nothing beats ruby. All right, Jade. It's mostly popular with the Asian market, specifically China. Almost the entire global supply comes from Kachin State, Burma, and such a limited supply means for very high prices. The best quality Jade is called Imperial Jade, very high translucency, untreated, and a vivid green color. This is definitely not. This might be considered apple green, but it probably wouldn't even meet that requirement. It's a decent quality jade piece, lovely for a nice little promise ring or something along those lines, but it's definitely not Imperial Jade. Jade B and C, grade B, means it has been enhanced clarity-wise by injecting the stone with a polymer. And grade C means it has been polymer injected and dyed. Almost worthless, both of them. Grade B, you might be looking at a couple hundred a carat for a very, very fine imperial, comparable to imperial jade stone, but mostly you'd be looking at tens of dollars per carat. Grade C, dollars per carat. Grade A, imperial jade, several hundred thousand, almost $1 million a carat for perfection. This is definitely not perfection, but it is a very nice starter stone. Now we'll move on to spinel. Spinel is not generally treated. Once in a while it will be heat treat only. It's not a heavily included stone, so you can get much cleaner spinel than you can ruby. But what I love about spinel is that it has that lovely red. Spinel actually comes in as many colors as sapphire pretty much, except maybe green and yellow. I haven't really seen much of that. But in terms of red, many of the world's most famous rubies are actually spinel. This is a black princess ruby. And it is just lovely. This is a very dark red stone. You can definitely get vivid, bright red that looks just like ruby, sometimes better. One of my favorite is the lovely pink red. It's called Jedi red. Look that up. It's from the Jedi mines of Mogok, Burma. Beautiful, beautiful. Absolutely lovely. I have some of those stones as well. Beautiful. The other major source is Mahenge in Tanzania. So spinel varies a lot by color. Spinel that's actually starting to gain popularity recently is gray and violet and these non-traditional colors of spinel, and they're very, very beautiful. And but they are also definitely cheaper. So you'd be looking at, you know, $50 to $200 a carat for slightly included or VS good color material. Then you get into something like this. Retail, we'd be looking at $200 a carat. Retail, you'd be looking at about $700 to $800 a carat. Wholesale would be closer to about $400 to $500 a carat. It's a very lovely stone. Has some inclusions, maybe VS2, and lovely red color, but on the darker side. If this was a ruby, you'd be looking at $600,000-$700,000 stone. So spinel, the main colors of spinel that collectors want are pink, blue, and red. In terms of blue, it's not actually a sapphire blue that they want. It's a cobalt blue. It's very, very intense, a bit lighter than royal blue, maybe closer to cornflower, and it has a sort of a neon glow. It's very, very intense and very lovely. The best blue spinel comes from Luckien in Vietnam, and the best red spinel comes from both Mahenge and from Burma. Best pink spinel comes from both as well, but more so from Mahenge, Tanzania, and Tajikistan as well. and very, very lovely stones out there. A few deposits in Afghanistan as well. Again, non-traditional colors, grayish violets will start at around 40, 50, a couple hundred a carat. And top grade, vivid pigeon's blood red, bubblegum pink, cobalt blue, you're looking at $4, $5, $10, $15,000 per carat for perfect stones, loop clean, vivid blue, vivid red, vivid pink. Opal. So two major sources, Ethiopia and Australia. Ethiopian opal is much more likely to be treated than Australian. What's more common with Australian is making doublets and triplets, because you can get very, very bright material and then just make a big stone out of it by making it into a doublet or triplet. Ethiopian opal is commonly clarity enhanced for colorless or yellow or blue base opal or white opal. It will often enhance the clarity because there's large sand or gravel inclusions in the stone, such as that there. And then in order to turn it into black opal, it will be smoked. It's cooked in an acid bath and smoked. And acid bath is matrix opal. It is smoked in order to give it a black appearance, which will make it look like Australian black opal, but of course it's not. There's actually very, very rare small deposits of naturally black opal in Ethiopia as well. Of course, Australian origin opal is worth much more, especially Australian black opal. In terms of value, it varies so much, and it's all dependent on color play. It's all about color play. The brighter the opal, with the more rare colors, the more valuable will be. More rare colors, the more rare patterns. Patterns are broad flash, pin fire. So in this stone, you're seeing mostly broad flash, which covers most of the stone, as well as some ribbon. Pin fire is like those little flecks. Harlequin is like a perfect checkered board, almost never exists. One in a million, 1 in 10 million opal, extremely rare. So on the lower end, treated stones are not worth much, especially smoked black opal, matrix opal is not worth much. You can get it for tens to hundreds per carat. In terms of good quality, Ethiopian opal will start at about 30 to 40, 50 a carat for smaller stones, a few hundred for larger stones. Then we look at top grade Ethiopian, we'll be looking at thousands per carat for very, very bright honeycomb 3D stones. And then you get into top grade investment gem opal, which can be seen, you could have the stone across the room and you can see the flash of color and the brilliance, and it's just beautiful. And in that case, we get into thousands per carat. And then we come into Australian opal. Australian opal that is, regular color, light opal, or sort of a crystal facet. Crystal opal is worth more, so you start with light opal, which is basically white opal or yellowish base or bluish base opal, which is worth probably about 30 or 40% of a premium over Ethiopian material, but fairly similar. Then you get into crystal opal, which is worth, in the hundreds for, again, it's all about the color play, hundreds for good quality, Ethiopian as well as Australian. And then when it comes to black opal, again, there's such little natural black opal in Ethiopia that it's hard to say. Australian black opal starts in the low hundreds for very mediocre color play, small stones, and then goes into the tens of thousands for collector's grade, harlequin. Red is a very rare color, so you'd be looking at a premium for rarer colors such as reds and oranges versus more common greens and blues. And then the darker the opal, the higher the value as well. And of course, brightness in terms of color play is the key defining factor for opal quality. So my main point in this video was to give you guys a brief idea of some of the most common gems on the market, some of the good alternatives. If you can't afford ruby, go for spinel. You can get a much bigger stone, just as red, just as beautiful, just as lovely and collectible, and frankly might even appreciate in value. I never considered gems an investment, but if you look at red spinel prices in the past 10 years, it's very clear that it has been going up in value. But again, gemstones are not an investment. You can never buy at a retail level and then make your money back. But in terms of holding its value, red spinel will serve you very, very well going into the future, especially high quality, large pieces. If you can't afford sapphire, consider tourmaline. If you can't afford untreated sapphire, go for heat only. Same with ruby, go for heat only. Don't go anything more than that. If you can't afford untreated emerald, consider tourmaline. Some tourmaline looks exactly like emerald. It's called chrome green tourmaline. Very, very similar in appearance. And if you can't afford untreated emerald, go for F1, max F2. You don't really want to go higher than that. And you want to look for as clean of an emerald as possible and then focus on getting as grass green color as possible. Jade, lovely stone, but try to make sure it has at least some degree of transparency or translucency. And look for emerald green color. Very lovely. Opal, don't get treated opal. Don't avoid doublets and triplets, and go for if you're not looking for black opal, Ethiopian is generally a better value because you're paying a little bit just for the Australian origin for when it comes to crystal opal and light color opal. But when it comes to black opal, there is truly something amazing about Australian opal, and unlike Ethiopian, with a few exceptions, it's always untreated. So hope you guys enjoy that video. Again, there's great alternatives out there for some of the more mainstream gemstones, such as sapphire, ruby, and emerald. You have tourmaline, spinel, opal, jade, lovely, lovely stones that are great alternatives. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned a little bit. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. We appreciate your feedback. If you didn't enjoy the video, let us know. What can we do to improve? What do you want to see in our upcoming videos? And of course, subscribe to Core Gems for the absolute best in gem content and more great videos coming soon. Thank you so much, everyone.